Hi everyone, welcome back to Farrand Film. Today I'm bringing you the second part of 3 videos which are going to be covering Grimmfest and the films that I managed to get out and see as part of this year's Grimmfest Festival. So the first one was Self-Driver, which is already up on the channel and on the podcast feed. This one is a film called Bleeding. Now, I'm going to change the way that I do this slightly, in that with the Self-Driver and the Bloodstar videos, I was able to interview cast and crew before the film, or before I saw the film, and then bring you my review. For this one, I'm going to keep it into the sort of way that I was able to do it, in that I'm going to play you the trailer, and then I'm going to give you my review of the film, and then I'm going to end this video with my interview with the cast and crew. Now, the reason I'm doing that is because, for whatever reason, that was just the way that the day fell. I saw Bleeding in the afternoon. It was a sort of weird one. I watched Bleeding. I went straight out of Bleeding to go and interview the cast and crew of Bloodstar. I then had about an hour gap. I then went and interviewed the cast and crew of Bleeding. And then I went in and watched Bloodstar. So it was very sort of an unusual way of doing things, and one that I wasn't necessarily accustomed to. But I think in terms of a narrative and in terms of a bit of continuity, I share my thoughts on the film for you, and then you can almost have the same headspace as me as seen the film, go and talk to the cast and the crew. So here is the trailer for the film, followed by my review.
You turned.
No shit.
Yeah. And Hank shot him.
Good. Better let that shit go.
I fucking had to. Just shut your door. I don't want to fucking sit. I want to know what fucking happened.
How much of that shit have you been doing?
Oh. Fuck you! Fuck you!
Brought this shit into my house.
No! No! I mean, you don't know what these people are like, man. He's gonna kill me. Just take me out in the fucking woods and just fucking kill me.
How was I supposed to know you had that shit in your room? You didn't tell me. You never tell me anything, which is bullshit, because I would have told you.
Ben, Sean.
No. No, 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 no. No, 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 no.
You're like my best friend, and you never tell me anything. Maybe I can help.
What are you doing, son?
This is really gonna hurt.
God! God!
Okay, so Bleeding. Now, I enjoyed this immensely. This is, of the 3 that I saw, it's my favourite of the 3. Is that spoiler alert from Bloodstar review? I don't think it is. They were all great. They were all great films. But I enjoyed this, and it's kind of stayed with me. Now, there was there was a sort of introduction to the film, and the lady who did the introduction said that it's a bleak film. I don't necessarily want to go too far into referring to it and labeling it as a bleak film. For me, it was a film that is in essence a metaphor and a social commentary for drug addiction, and it uses its central conceit in such a way that I found really innovative and really interesting. So basically at the start of the film, there is a quote which appears to have been pulled from a 2008 medical journal that basically refers to blood, and blood being used as a drug on the streets, that people are dealing, that people are selling, that people are trying to move from person to person, and that it is possible for you to overdose on blood, and that if you overdose on blood, you essentially turn. And the script refrains from using the word vampire all the way through. There is no mention of the word vampire. You don't get a point where somebody sort of goes, oh my God, they're like a vampire. It just refrains from it altogether. And it uses that terminology of turn, the turn that someone goes through after they have overdosed from blood or its derivative dust. And early on, you see a character called Sean, played by Jasper Jones, his character is a junkie. He's an addict, as he's referred to in the film, and he is seen snorting dust. And it seems to be that dust is quite lucrative in its form, and basically he gets into some deep water with some people that he owes money to. His cousin Eric, played by John Howley, is also a key member of the cast, if not the key member of the cast, and they basically go off and sort of try and escape Hank, with Sean's dad, because again he's looking to kick them out or kick Sean out because of his drug addiction and because of the stuff that he's doing, and they stumble on this house where they come across Sarah, played by Tori Wong. Now, Sarah is locked in a room and she's basically turned, or she's on, or she's about to turn. And she's locked up basically because she has turned. Eric recognises Sarah. Eric knows Sarah, I'm assuming, and again, the audience would assume from some sort of collegiate relationship, school relationship, whatever it is. And again, it spirals, and there's a promise there of him trying to save her and get her away. And again, I'm not going to go too much into where things end up going, but there are so many twists and turns in the narrative that I didn't expect. But from a functional storytelling point of view and from a functional filmmaking point of view, I enjoyed this immensely. And one of the questions that I will mention in my interview with them in just a little bit, that you will see in just a little bit, is you can't really tell that it's a small budget film. There are moments where you can, and there are moments where they've done creative things in order to get around the budget. So, for example, there's a point where Eric throws a chair towards a window and it smashes the window, but you don't see the window smash. You hear the window smash and you see someone standing on glass, which again comes down to budget. It comes down to they weren't able to smash a window, so that was what they did to get around it. But there is no point in the rest of the film where I sort of sat and thought, oh, I can tell this is low budget. Like, the story is strong enough and small enough, and I don't mean that in a negative way, for you to fully believe in everything that you are seeing. It comes across in parts as a bit of a coming-of-age story for the two male protagonists, and it also brings me to things like a Near Dark, Catherine Bigelow film Near Dark, in terms of that, I was going to say urban setting, but it's not necessarily an urban setting. Obviously, there are things around and sort of landmarks around and stuff like that, but it's not in sort of like a big city setting. It's almost like a small town setting, so there's a lot of that to it as well, and altogether it just, everything fits, everything clicks. I think the main cast are frankly fantastic, and having spoken to Jasper and Tori and John, who were all very, what would the word be, sort of humble in terms of the fact that it's first features for all of them, and John is still a student, and there was a lot of sort of, did we do this right, did we do this right, and I watched it and I was fully blown away by it. I cannot wait to see it again. It's something that I've not stopped thinking about since I came out of it. I'm gutted that in my sort of line of posters that I was able to get from Grimmfest, I just missed out on getting a bleeding one. They had none left by the time I went to go and buy these ones. So I'm gutted that I've not been able to do that. I am eternally thankful and grateful to Andrew, the film's director, who was very courteous and passed over his contact details to me in the hope that we can do something with the students here at the school that I'm working in, whether that be a screening, whether that be him coming onto a Zoom and doing a bit of a conversation with us. That was, again, incredibly generous of him. And yeah, I highly, highly, highly recommend this. This was the film's world premiere, and I don't know when or if It's going to be sort of doing the rounds again. We don't necessarily know what a release looks like in terms of a digital release, in terms of theatrical release, but I am keeping my ears to the ground on it. I am very, very keen to watch it again. I'm very keen to get my hands on it and own it as a sort of physical copy, if that would exist, or if not, as a digital copy. And I am keen to show it to my students, especially when it comes around to the time of them making their own films as well, because it's a success, it's an achievement. It really, really is. So that's my thoughts on the film Bleeding. I am now going to pass you over to myself with my interview, with the film's director, Andrew Bell, with Tori Wong, actress, with John Holloway, one of the actors, Jasper Jones, one of the actors, and Nicholas DeSantos, the film's producer. So thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for listening. Here is my interview with the cast and crew of Bleeding. Okay, so this is daunting because I've got to remember all your names.
Good luck.
John, Tori, Jasper, Nick, Andrew?
Wow, yeah!
That'll do. Right, winner. Okay, so Andrew, I want to start with you. Now, this is the first interview that I've done of the festival after I've seen the film. So all the other ones I've done are before I've seen the film. So I'm kind of still reeling from watching it about an hour ago. I want to start off just as a sort of slight horror geek side. Talk to me about vampire films. What were you thinking about when you were making the film? Like cultural touchstones?
We thought a lot about Let the Right One In.
Yeah.
One of them. Trouble Every Day, the Claire Denis film. I like Herzog's version of Nosferatu.
Okay.
Yeah. We didn't have a ton of horror references though when we were making this. Like I was saying, like Mean Streets earlier. You know?
Yeah.
It's not a horror film. You know.
There was a little bit of Near Dark for me. Catherine Bigelow's Near Dark in terms of cinematography and stuff like that. Yeah.
Went to our school, so.
Oh really? Okay. But the big interesting one, and I was waiting for it all the way through the film. I was thinking they've not said the word vampire yet. They've not said the V word. Intentional? Must have been.
Pretty intentional.
Yeah? What was the reason behind that?
Just to leave it a little ambiguous, and I think it allowed us to play with the rules in a different way. You know, because it is a different set of rules.
Yeah.
I think it gives you a little bit more freedom, maybe. You know, hopefully it did.
Yeah.
We're gonna piss people off if we did it.
No. Because obviously one of the big the premise of the film ultimately is that, and he set it up really well at the beginning, but the blurb that comes up in terms of, you know, blood is now a thing that people have become addicted to. Dust is a derivative of it, and essentially you're like echoing the drug abuse, drug addiction that people have to go through. And I heard you very briefly, because I had to sort of run off and do another one of these, talk about your own experiences. So if you wouldn't mind just touching on that again.
Well, first of all, I'll say that like little blurb at the beginning was not there till like the second or third edit of our film.
Okay.
We thought it was important to like set the rules of the world up, and also that kind of set up that you're like in this other, you're not entirely in our own world, and it's this other world that kind of exists as a reflection of ours.
Okay.
So it was important for us to set that up. In that
we found that, because you're talking to film students too, that's what I'm talking about. We found that when we hadn't set the rules first, it didn't allow the audience to connect with the characters as quickly and as closely, because they're kind of trying to figure out what's going on. When we kind of plant that information right at the front, let them go, okay, this is where I am, this is what's happening, now I can connect with these people.
Yeah.
I also love films that kind of set those rules. That like it has this like found quality to it, because it's supposed to be from like a 2008 drug report, so it kind of almost has this almost a Texas Chainsaw like opening.
Yeah, you're landing it sort of firm in reality, and it makes total sense. So where did the idea come from initially?
Yeah, it was originally going to be a short when we were both graduate students at Columbia University there. Got COVID casualty, canceled with the plague there, and just being, you know, in lockdown, basically, I moved back in with my parents, and it kind of brought back all this stuff from my own childhood. You know, being a young, reckless teenager, seeing myself looking back, having gotten in these situations with adults that like I shouldn't have abandoned. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they're teenagers, they're in there with this 30-year-old man that's there to take advantage of them.
Yeah.
It's like, well, stuff like that was happening when I was. It's not stuff like this.
No, but it's
You know?
yeah.
Yeah, the idea of the real monsters in the film being more of these men that are taking advantage of these desperate young people. So yeah, a lot of that stuff came back, as well as a lot of the family stuff. I had some friends and family pass away during when I was writing it, and it kind of brought everything flooding back. I needed a bit of an outlet.
Yeah.
Put it on
Element
page,
of
man.
catharsis, is that fair to say? That it was quite cathartic for you to...
Definitely.
Yeah?
Yeah, cathartic for sure. But also, I've been living with it for 5 years with this film now, man. I'm ready to...
Now you're ready
Go on to the
to
next
put
one.
it to a side, yeah. So, Nicholas, did you take much coercing into getting involved in the project, or was it...
Andrew sent me the script originally for notes, and I was so drawn to it from my own personal experience, also dealing with people with addiction, and also I just like the genre aspects of it as well. And so instead of I gave notes, and then I was also like, if you need help getting this made, like I'm down to, do it.
Good.
It was a trap, yeah. We're hoping they connect with it more.
And to your cast members, making me feel old, but all incredibly young. Am I right in saying it's a lot of first-time roles for you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So how did that experience come on for you, John?
Andrew emailed me, probably because I was I also go to Columbia.
Okay.
So I think the connection was
In the undergrad program, he's still at college.
Yeah, I'm still.
Oh, really?
Well, actually, I'm away this weekend when I should not be, and I'm gonna go back.
I'll put this out on Tuesday.
and I'm going to do homework on the plane. But yes, I'm still in college. So I'm still very much learning how to act.
Okay.
And this was my first big camera thing. Before this, I'd said I'd done a few short films, all of which I played listen, you're gonna be great out there. You know what I'm saying? So this on every single day was powerfully educational.
Yeah.
Not only about what we were talking about, in which it was, but also just the craft of acting. And Jasper and I had a lot of conversations about our different approaches to acting, and that really strengthened.
I learned so much from picking his brain because he comes from a theater background.
Yeah.
And I've never done theater like that. I mean, I learned from working in a very intimate studio, and then also just doing loads of short films and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But this was my first feature too, and it was really cool to go along on that journey with him. And those reps, getting that many reps in, is so useful because you're like a sponge. And then I noticed I went directly from that to another feature, which was awesome but also terrible because it was so much work.
Yeah.
But I'm grateful, so it was whatever. But it was so useful to have all of that training right before too. So that was really helpful.
Am I right in saying that you're a writer as well?
Yeah. I'm trying my hand at writing.
How was it in terms of the scripts? Was it good for you to sort of study a script?
Yes, yeah. It's because you get a totally different look on it, and whenever you read it, you know what you like, you know what you don't necessarily like, and you can kind of see how it flows, especially whenever the writer is the director.
Yeah.
That's really cool because then you can have sort of a dialogue. It's cool if they know how to do that. You know how to do that, but some people may want to hold on too tight to the script, and then it's not dialogue anymore. It's just an unobtainable vision. That's not what it felt like here. Okay. You know.
It felt sort of flourished, and you were able, to sort of add your own little elements in as well.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. It felt like I could play around and stuff, and I could trust I could swing and I could completely miss. And you could tell me.
Yeah, that's true.
Did that happen? Were there a lot of swings and a lot of misses?
I remember one time I said you got dough. He was like, yeah, no. I was like, okay.
On that note, I remember the first take we did, which is us knocking at the house, being act like you've done this. I remember this so vividly. It was the first thing I said that wasn't in the theatrical context, basically, and I was like, pretend that you've done this before. Or is that I kind of did my training? Yeah. Pretend, and then I remember Aaron being like, it's quiet. So
I think we talked a little about performative masculinity and feeling the need to be the cool guy.
Yes.
Tough guy a little bit.
And that brought it down a little bit.
Yeah.
What about yourself, Tori? How was the experience for you?
It was my first feature film, and I only took like some on-camera classes before that, and I work in healthcare, so I'm not really.
I saw your IMDb of a lot of health and safety, and then I wondered, there's a lot of blood on the floor.
Yeah, no, I am not really in the acting world as much as I would. I mean, now it's starting to like come through, but it wasn't really like that before, and then I got the email from Andrew.
Because it's a very physical role.
It is.
Yeah.
I felt like it was actors boot camp. Everything I had to like figure out and learn on set, I did it, and I think that's also what really drew me to the role. Like I had to find a lot of physicality in there, and I honestly wasn't sure how I was going to do that. The day before set, I was literally telling my partner, like, I don't know how to be a vampire. I don't know what I would be doing. But Jay, our movement director, was so good. He like explained a whole lot, and there wasn't really like a rehearsal for that much for like being the vampire. It was just kind of like a lot more guidance and him like offering suggestions and stuff, and then kind of going with a gut feeling of like the rawness, being uncomfortable. Doing some of those like takes, I definitely was sore the next day. I was tensing my muscles quite a bit. But yeah, it was fun to play with the physicality and like the emotional undercurrent of Sarah's character.
Yeah. Because one of the things that I think is really well achieved in the film is that you managed to get around a small budget incredibly well. So one of the things, obviously quite early on, is that there's a window smash and you hear the sound and you see the glass on the floor. But then any other time in the film, you wouldn't have thought that this was a low budget film. Like, did you find yourself trying to be economical when you wrote the script, or were you just thinking, go for broke?
No, definitely. Limited number of characters, limited number of locations, being really specific when the supporting characters are there, so they're not peppered all through there. So you have to pay people, things that we could do, things that we knew we could pull off without a lot of money, and the money that we did have could go to the right things.
It's definitely getting creative with that type of stuff, where like I had to be like, Andrew, we can't smash a glass door, but we can still go for it, and we can figure out a creative way to shoot around it that the audience feels like they've seen it, but they never actually saw it.
Who had the friend that had Dustin's car? Because that must have been an expensive.
That was so another producer, Kenny, who also plays the goon, Andrew's.
His name is Goon. In the
plays, he plays like the right hand man. That was
the guy with the stripes.
I really watched the movie.
He was like, my dad has this Camaro, and like.
He wants it in the film so bad.
We were like, yes, that is the perfect car we wanted in the film.
Did he trust someone to drive it, or was he?
He trusted Kenny to drive it.
Oh, okay.
But
I did car stunts.
Yeah,
not really stunts.
No, he did. I did drive the car. I drove the car off.
You drove the car.
Yeah, how exciting that was. Yeah, but like Kenny was just our producer. He's not a real actor, but he looks like an extra from The Sopranos, and he's so freaking game, that it worked out perfectly. And he was like our savior, working. We're working 12-hour days, Kenny's working like 19-hour days.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He was driving back and forth from a different part of New York.
Shout out to Kenny.
4 hours every day.
Super helpful.
Yeah.
Really
also
killed it.
The crew made everything look
beautiful.
Awesome. Like really felt like you could trust them.
Yeah.
At least from the acting standpoint.
Yeah.
So when it came to the house and the locations and stuff, where did that come from? Did you hire that, or?
We basically scouted together, me and Andrew and another producer. It was a lot of like looking at like Airbnb and Zillow and like trying to just like, that house is cool. We talked to the person. Are they like, will they let us shoot there for X amount of dollars?
Yeah.
The magic with Kenny too. Kenny's parents, as well as the car, came through with like Dustin's house.
Oh, right, okay.
Which is also, I don't know how to say it, is also that the set in the beginning is that same house just dressed up a little bit differently.
Yeah.
Saved us like thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars.
And then fun stuff happened where like we were at that house and there was like that weird stone building in the back. where he burns the
Yeah,
body, and we're
yeah.
like, well, we should shoot something in here. And we're like, oh, well, I guess if we just have him burning the body on the grass. It's like, why doesn't he just drag the body into this whole ass stone building and do it there?
From like 120 years ago or something.
Yeah, that was
That was a really great scene. Too.
I mean, you've got it. If it's there, you've got to use it. Sure, yeah.
It felt like someone had been murdered in there before, so yeah.
What a way to evoke what you need. So last one from me, just for all of you, we want to take it individually. What's next? What do you want to, in terms of bleeding, what's the plan for where it's going to go? But then in terms of yourselves, I mean, John's got to go graduate, but I mean, other than that, you know, where are we next?
We're kind of figuring out, negotiating some distribution stuff right now. Same with our US premiere. This was our world premiere. Came out here at Grimmfest. We're blown away by how awesome you guys have been. And figuring out our US premiere next and just, streaming and...
You should hit streaming and hopefully physical early next year.
Amazing. I loved it. I can't wait to show it to my students because I just thought, like, if anything, this is how you can make a film on a low budget and a lot of show don't tell, and really that because they have to write a script for the coursework element, so they have to write a short feature. Perfect. Exactly what I wanted anyway as an educator to take back to the classroom. Yeah. So it's a pleasure to meet you all. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.